I want to discuss something. I started to try to elucidate it in one of my gaming videos, and I kind of came to no, of course they're not the same, but there's actually a similarity here between the feelings that I have surrounding my avoidance and avoidant nature, and the things I do as I sink into a depression or whatever I'm doing, and the feelings that I have from the grief itself, right? And in a lot of ways you could just say, hey, they ain't the same thing. They really aren't, right? You know, one is a sadness about what, what has happened in the past, memories that just sting in terms of like, I don't know, life was better then or whatever, right? I don't know if it was particularly better. It's just something hurts, right? And it's this twinge that comes up whenever I do something. Pretty much anything I do, right? And the question is, how long does it survive, right? And when I'm around other people, it passes rather quickly. If I'm in the kitchen doing something like, preparing a cup of tea or making some food, putting something in the microwave, whatever it is, it just comes as kind of this reminder of back then I did this too and it hurts, and it's just sort of, it does pass pretty quickly, but I use the avoidant mechanisms to try to prevent that in a similar way. And it's because the feeling is actually very similar. Like, I'm walking down the stairs thinking, even when we were just talking about the wood that I have to cut outside, there'd be this twinge and I'd be like, I have to do that. But that didn't really drive me in the same way as, say, what I have to face right now that I know I can't face, the same way as when my mother was dying. I couldn't face it. The same way as after my wife died, some of the things I had to do and cope with, most of which I got taken care of, to be honest. The one that I didn't take care of at all, and I was driven in a lot of ways for those. The one that I didn't get taken care of was the money she had in foreign banks. I think that's gone, but I still have all the paperwork spread out on my floor in my living room with some vague, you can't just you can't just say it's gone. You can't just give up on something, right? That you can't just give up is very, very similar to the feelings, now my mom went quick. Now my dad is unwell. And, I mean, it's not like I can do a damn thing, but he would like to see me, I'm sure. And me, I don't know. I mean, I've written off my existence. I'm just waiting to die at this point, So it's kind of like, and also, I know that whatever pain and guilt that I will feel is going to be way, way less than what I feel at this moment, right? For not doing anything. I know that it's going to get easier there, as opposed to, for whatever reason, after my wife died. I don't know. That just, that's just a hole ripped in my life, in everything that I stood for at that point, and nothing's replaced it. and I think nothing can. Uh, but yeah, the pain is a very similar kind of pain. Just in terms of like how it feels physically, how I react, how it is mentally, and just this sort of this shying away from it and wanting to hide from it completely. And this is the avoidance side of things, especially, is nothing new for me, right? I've had this at various times my whole life, It, and sometimes I take care of things, sometimes I don't. When I was living here before and I couldn't find a job in this area, the prospect of finding a job anywhere and then just taking care of that and doing the things that needed to be done. Now that was a success story, right? That was a success story, like dealing, with my wife's remains and her bank account here and whatever I had to take care of for that was a success. And where it is a success, it's almost like, I don't know, not always. Sometimes I just find out what I need to do and I do it, right? Like any normal fucking person would. I don't feel like that is quite how it worked out when I moved to Phoenix from here. I feel like that was more of a, yes, I just have to do it, but it almost felt like, I don't know, it was grinding against everything in my nature to deal with it, to actually make the move. And as I started taking steps, it snowballed to the point where there really wasn't a choice anymore, and it did kind of become a, well, you just have to do this. Just like, if I buy an airplane ticket, then I have to cope with that fact and deal with the things that come from it. And that is not too impossible a thing to do, I tell myself. But it's so much easier to just fucking hide. And I can see what the future is on either path. And outside of the disappointment to others, I'm good with what the results would be for me to doing nothing. And therefore I can't do anything, is what it feels like. I'm not trying to make this as some sort of, calculus or something, but to some extent we all make that kind of calculus, even if subconsciously. And I track it down and try to understand the why. Why is it that I think this way? And can that help me change my mind? Can it help me overcome what my natural inclination is? And I don't know that it can. I don't think so. I really don't fucking think so. But I also, I don't know. I don't know what I can do. It feels like, it's not like, oh, it's a hassle, although I'm sure that's part of it. It's more like there's something in it that just, I can't leave this place. I mean, it's hard enough for me to fucking go out on my Friday nights when I know I'll make it back at night, or shopping or anything. The idea of leaving even for a day or two feels so fucking like impossible now, right? In a way that I don't remember feeling so constrained ever before. I do know that I have to die here. And And there's always the worry that when I leave the house, I don't manage that I fail at even that. Yeah. It's just, that whole, and here's the thing, the avoidance, there's a way to stop that pain, right? To start doing the things that I need to do, and I will feel better for it. I do kind of know that. At least when I'm trying to lay out the calculus of it all. And trying to convince myself. I know that actually doing things, actually moving and taking action feels better than this rot that, just covers my whole soul. But I also, I don't know. I don't know anymore. And with the grief and the feelings of that, there's sort of no way out, right? Even when I'm active and doing things, it still twinges again and again and again. Now that's not completely alien, I think, either, although there are differences. When my first wife booted me out, I know that I felt unable, like many things I felt handcuffed about. Many things that I just couldn't do or change. And I felt the pain regularly then. I didn't seek the same degree of solace as I have now, but I also didn't have the means to. I was in a situation where, I knew there wasn't going to be an easy way out at that time. And by easy, I mean one that just kind of happens to me. And now I think, there's enough going wrong inside me. It might not last much longer. One can hope. One can hope. The last thing I fucking want is for this to just keep going on. But on the other hand, who I am, what I am, I know I can't do a goddamn thing about that anymore. Like, it's the same kind of blockage, right? It's the same kind of, the only thing that I could hope for in those kind of circumstances is the kind of decision making that I made when I left here. That it was just like, I gotta do something, I do this. But again, the calculus comes in, right? I can see I can kind of live with the slow deterioration and destruction of my existence and just constantly hope for some escape. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think it's what normal people face. Now, I'm not saying, oh, God, I'm all alone in this. No, I know there are tons of you out there who feel at least a fair amount, maybe even more of what I feel. But they seem capable of handling the things that break the patterns that they must do. See, it's hard enough for me to go shopping, right? But that's part of my pattern. I can go shopping. I can do that. I do that, when I run out of food, when I feel too stressed about my lack of food, it just happens. But almost anything else beyond that is outside my pattern. And I try to build a pattern with like cutting wood or whatever. It doesn't seem to fucking happen. It really doesn't. I find excuses and whatnot just as. And all I can sort of do is hide in things that are addictions, or sleep, which maybe is an addiction of its own. Reading, which at least I enjoy, which is different from everything else in my life. But, yeah. And continue on and deteriorate on. Oh.